It has been quite a week for the Citi Field grounds crew. Monday night, they had to rake and roll and fire just to get the game in against the Marlins. Tuesday night, a rain out. And then last night, the game into which much rain fell. Puddles galore. But somehow the Mets and Nats were able to play 9 straight innings thanks to those guys without a delay all night long. Today, it's Weather Education Day, and the weather is beautiful. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. Have a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you today as the Mets close out their 2-game series against the Washington Nationals. The Mets won last night 3-0 behind terrific pitching from John Neese, help from the bullpen, Jason Isringhausen and Francisco Rodriguez. The Mets are now 15-9 in their last 24 games, and Dylan G will try and keep the ball rolling today.
Well, you think about it, coming off a kind of an uneven start, his last start against Houston, 4 walks for a guy that usually has impeccable control. One of the things you got to love about Dylan G, though, you never know when your opportunity is going to come. And it's come for him with the injury to Chris Young. He's going to have an opportunity to make his starts and really solidify his position as a starting pitcher here for the New York Mets. And going up against the lineup for the Washington Nationals, you see a lot of the names, Bernardino with that great speed, Ivan Rodriguez, 14 All-Star appearances, 13 Gold Gloves. The one name, although he's struggling, Adam LaRoche, only hitting a .177. I think he's the guy that Dylan G is going to have to be careful with today because of that good changeup.
On the other side, the Mets will see the ageless Livan Hernandez for the second time this year. He pitched a gem against the Mets in D.C.
Well, he'll be making his 39th career start against the Mets, as you see there. He just went over the 3,000 inning mark, 1,800-plus punch-outs. Just one of outstanding pitchers. His next win will be his 170th. And one of the things that you love about watching Livan Hernandez when he goes up against this New York Mets lineup, he's a guy that throws kind of below the hitting speed. And the guys that he's going to have to watch out for, Reyes and Beltran, both have 2 home runs against Livan, but his ability to paint the corners and really throw slower and slower is going to have to be a trick for these young hitters like Turner, Pridey, and others to try to solve the riddle that is Livan Hernandez.
Justin Turner, the hottest bat of the lineup for the Mets. Another 2 RBIs last night. Mets go for a 2-game sweep of the Nats. All the action this afternoon right here on SNY. to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By your Tri-State Ford dealers. By Lala. Discover Lala yogurt smoothies available at Duane Reade. By Lexus. By Verizon 4G LTE. Rule the air on the most advanced 4G network in the world. And by Lowe's. Visit your local Lowe's to cast your MLB All-Star ballot and enter to win a trip to the All-Star Game. Compliments of Scott's. Complete your Citi Field experience with the McFadden's Mets Game Day ticket package. Includes a 1-hour happy hour, a complimentary appetizer, and a post-game drink coupon. Go to Mets.com for your tickets now. There's the Mets' upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV, and you can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. We'll be with you from Yankee Stadium tomorrow night. Opener of the weekend series, first of two series between the Mets and Yankees. R.A. Dickey against Freddie Garcia tomorrow night. After that series, the Mets go to Wrigley Field to play the Cubs and come back home to play the Phillies weekend after next. Lots of kids in the ballpark today for Weather Education Day. Beautiful day for a ball game. Come on back. First pitch is coming up. Hitting the road, take the Mets with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Mets game live or on demand on your computer and your favorite devices. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. I thought it was fascinating that after the game last night, as you look at Mr. G set to throw out the first pitch, and who would know more about the weather than Mr. G? Last night, the folks covering the game wanted a comment from Bill Miller, the crew chief, about why they didn't stop the game with the downpour that we had, particularly in the 7th inning last night. And he refused to comment, referring all questions to Major League Baseball. Now, I don't know if that's an edict for Major League Baseball that the umpires aren't supposed to talk about such things. Nice pitch by Mr. G. or whether that was Miller's individual decision, but I think that the umpires owe it to everybody who follows the sport to make a comment in a situation like that.
And just an honest comment. What you were thinking, I think, would be really good for the fans and people and even the ball players to know what your thought process was to have the game continue last night. And I think that's something that, honestly, Major League Baseball has to look at, Bud Selig has to look at, that the umpires should be held accountable. They're smart enough to handle themselves.
Well, we go from Mr. G to Dylan G. We certainly have gotten a weather education this week, and now Dylan gets to pitch on the nicest day of the week.
Well, you saw those Verizon numbers, but the thing that you need to know about Dylan G is that here he has his chance. Chris Young out, of course. There's, well, maybe, I don't know. It's not too bad.
Mr. G.
Let's just hope that Dylan throws the ball a little lower than Mr. G did on his pitch.
Hey, Mr. G got it there on the fly.
He did.
Very proud of him.
That's what they always say, right? You can't bounce it. You always have to throw it on the fly.
As long as you don't throw it up the catch.
That's right. Here's Alexis Met's defense. Bay, Pridey, and Beltran in the outfield. Beltran playing every day. And you can see the youngest infield in Major League Baseball, Turner, Reyes, Tejada, and Murphy. Toley's catching today with G. But Tejada base hit last night, a walk last night. Very productive game. Murphy made the play of the game, I believe, in that ball by Bernardina, beating him to the bag. There's Jim Riggleman, manager of the Washington Nationals.
By the way, we were wondering what Danny Espinosa was doing, sacrificing with a runner at second and nobody out in the second inning, and the 8 and 9 hitters coming up. He did it on his own.
Yeah.
Riggleman made that clear this morning that it was not his idea.
And these are the things that we saw a Desmond in a sacrifice situation trying to push a bunt to get a base hit. These are the little things that you'll hear coaches and managers talk about, that guys who come to the major leagues, the instincts are a little lacking.
Well, there was a point that Terry Collins was making today. He said he thinks the gap between AAA and the major leagues is the largest that it's ever been. He says that's because guys are getting pushed from the lower levels to the upper levels of the minor leagues too fast.
Well, a lot of times contractually you'll have a player that has to start in AA, has to move to AAA the next year, and even if he's not ready.
Roger Bernardina has found a home in the leadoff spot for the Nats. G's first pitch of the game is inside corner for a strike, 0-1. Bernardina has made 10 straight starts now, playing center field in the absence of Rick Ankiel, who's on the disabled list with a sprained wrist. Bernardina has given them some on-base percentage, some speed at the top of the lineup, some defense in center field as well. And for a Nationals team that has been struggling offensively, he's been a godsend. He and Desmond on deck, and then Lance Nix in the opening inning. For Dylan G, what he's trying to do more than anything else today is find his command, which has been lacking uncharacteristically in his last 2 starts.
Well, really a creature of habit when he was a starter in the minor leagues and here with the Mets in September, but shuffled back and forth from starting in the bullpen. He kind of lacked really the command of his fastball, which is his most important pitch, which sets up that good changeup.
He was able to fight through it against the Dodgers and struggled against the Astros his last start last Friday. Walked 4 batters in 5 innings, very uncharacteristic for him.
And even threw 96 pitches in 5 innings. That's way too many for Dylan G.
Facing the team against whom he made his major league debut last year in quite impressive fashion. If you remember, it was the 7th of September last year at Nationals Park, and Dylan G did not allow a hit for the first 5 innings. Willie Harris, of all people, broke it up in the 6th. And Dylan went on to pitch 7 innings that night, allowed just 1 run and 2 hits, and won his major league debut. Bernardina rolls over it, pulls it down to Dan Radisson in the coaching box. The Nationals are dead last in the National League in batting average, dead last in on-base percentage, dead last in slugging percentage. That's the Triple Crown. So, of course, we showed the hitting coach. That's Rick Eckstein.
Well, you can't. They have some hitters that have been veterans that have had some good years, so you can't put it all on the hitting coach. At some point, you got to deliver. Eckstein, about as accomplished as anyone's going to be in teaching the swing.
Of course, they are missing their best player, and Ryan Zimmerman. He's been out for most of the first 6 weeks of the season. Bernardina is certainly making G work this opening at bat. He's already seen 9 pitches.
I think the one guy that you forget Adam Dunn, whether he hit or not, always was a presence in that lineup with Zimmerman. And they lacked that this year. They thought LaRoche would take that over, but he hasn't so far.
Full foul again. Well, LaRoche is a notoriously slow starter, but even by his standards, he's off to a ridiculously slow start, and that, with the absence of Zimmerman, has really hurt.
And he's always held his own against left-handed pitching. He hasn't done that this year, and those numbers are even worse when you see them against the left-handed pitching.
2-2, and another foul ball. This is turning into an epic for Bernardina. 11 pitches in and still going, and you know, this is part of what you ask out of your leadoff hitter, to make that starter expend energy, let everybody else who's going to follow to see what the starter has, and it continues. If you're Dylan G in this spot, what do you think? 12 pitches deep in the first at bat of the game.
You're like, put it in play, man. Let's go. Let's go. I mean, it's 2-2. You don't want to go 3-2 against the leadoff hitter, so you're going to continue to throw him strikes. Want him to put it in play, keep it down. Hopefully you're in field to make a play.
And the curveball in there for a call, strike 3. So G changed the plan. And on the 13th pitch of the at-bat, gets Bernardina looking.
Well, Bernardina saw every fastball that G had, saw every changeup he had, but that did not see that hook. You see that middle finger right on that seam as he flips that ball over. Beautiful.
So 13 pitches down, one hitter retired. And here's Ian Desmond, who was 1 for 4 last night. Struggling, hitting a .218, .255 on base percentage. Of the 8 position players in the lineup for the Nats today, 5 of the 8 have on base percentages under 300.
So you have that middle finger, and then the pointing finger is off the baseball. So you're putting all that pressure right on that middle finger. Pull with the middle finger, push with the thumb.
You see John Neese throwing his curveball that same way.
Did you see Jake Peavy, to put those 13 pitches in perspective? Jake Peavy last night had 2 innings of 4 pitches, 1 inning of 6 pitches to retire 3 men.
Peavy throwing a 3-hit, 1-0 shutout against the Indians for the White Sox. His first start back at U.S. Cellular Field since he got hurt last July. And it took him only 2 hours and 1 minute.
Nice. It's been pretty unusual. When you watch him, kind of just rest that back on his shoulder, and then as the pitch comes, then he gets ready. But he really doesn't put it in a kind of a hitting situation. Espinosa does the same thing. Interesting that David Eckstein, Rick's brother, does a similar thing.
Yep. 2-2 to Desmond, and the curveball hit in the air to center. Back a few strides, Jason Pridey, but plenty of room out there, and that's the second out. So Desmond flies out deep to center, 2 out and nobody on, and now Lance Nix will come to the plate. Nix of late has been sharing left field with Michael Morris, who started last night, and Nix has been producing. So he's been getting more and more playing time. They're going to have a pretty crowded outfield situation when Rick Ankiel comes off the disabled list. It shouldn't be too far down the road. You have to think that Bernardina's going to stay out there with what he's given them. And Nix has produced as well. Lance Nix, 85 at bats this year, 1 walk. So he's up there swinging. That's why Dylan threw him the first pitch changeup. Now he comes inside with a fastball, 1-1.
Well, he's a part-time player, so always trying to impress. Last year had a really nice year for the Cincinnati Reds. Batted his career high .291.
Well, the Nats have somehow been able to keep their heads above water. They are just 2 games under .500. Same record as the Mets. And in fact, since Zimmerman went out, they're a .500 team, which you wouldn't think with the lack of offense, but they've got just enough pitching and just enough timely hitting to keep their heads above water. Gene making liberal use of that changeup, 1-2.
Well, it's his best pitch. It's his pitch that's a swing and miss pitch for Dylan G. You ask, why did he lead AAA in strikeouts last year? That's one of the reasons.
Even though he's not overpowering by any means. Here's the 1-2 and a foul ball.
Just a purpose to every pitch. Change up to start to a free swinger. Fastball to back him off the plate. Another change up that Nick's swung through. A high fastball to change his eye level. Just opens up so many possibilities when you can pitch like G pitches.
1-2 to Nixon. He strikes him out with a curveball. 2 strikes in the opening inning for Dylan G. A fast start for Dylan. Despite a 13-pitch at bat, Livan Hernandez heads to the mound. Livan Hernandez starts against the Mets for the 39th time.
Respectable ERA. You'll say to yourself 18 walks in 57 or third innings, but Hernandez notorious for pitching around certain hitters in certain situations.
Jose Reyes, 3 more hits last night, has 59 hits for the year to lead the National League. Leads the league in stolen bases and triples as well. And Livan teases him with a changeup, and it's 1-1. We mentioned 39th start for Livan against the Mets, but perhaps more tellingly, since the Mets released him in August of 2009, he's made 6 starts against New York, and he's 2-1 with a 1.96 ERA against the Mets since they let him go.
You know what that's called? Good memory. That's what that is.
Now officially 36 years old. And he falls behind on Reyes, 3-1. Reyes has a couple of home runs against Livan in his career. He's faced him. He's got 56 at-bats against him. Livan pitched a terrific game against the Mets back on April 28th in D.C. 8 strong innings, just 2 earned runs, and a 4-3 Nats win. Reyes hits one well out to center field, but Bernardino is back there. 1 away.
Bernardino's got a lot of speed out there in that defense. Here's the Coors Light Nationals defense. 13-time Gold Glove Award winner. 14-time All-Star Pudge Rodriguez behind the plate. Nick's Bernardino Worth. Cora gets started third base. Desmond Espinoza and LaRoche.
A lot of experience in that battery.
It's going to be fun to watch these two work.
Well, here's Josh Thole, who's just been struggling miserably with the bat. 0 for his last 13, down to 220 on the year. Ronnie Polino's been getting more and more playing time of late.
Interesting. Josh, to me, just by the naked eye here, looks a little more upright than he's been all season long here early in the count.
Now known for his crouch and his 2-strike approach, he's been looking to pull more this year and maybe been getting caught a little in between. 2-1 to Thole.
The question is ultimately what kind of hitter is Tolle going to be? Is he going to be just a guy who dinks the ball to left field, or is he going to be something more than that?
Ivan Hernandez is the master of if he gets behind in the count. Most young pitchers, what do they think? I'm going to throw it harder. He's just the opposite. I'm going to throw it slower.
Two and two to Tolle with Beltran on deck. And the fastball up and away, 3-2. Tolle holding down the 2-hole for the moment against right-handed pitching. Carlos Beltran on deck, but Angel Pagan began his rehab stint last night in a home run down in Florida in an A-ball game. Lifted foul off the third base side. Alex Cora over for a look, but it's out of play. Baseball shouldn't be too terribly long before Angel's back in the lineup.
Baseball's such a funny game, isn't it, Gary? Because you play every day. These guys are injured, go away kind of and into the atmosphere, and then you just hear about them. Oh, they're almost ready to come back.
Two to Tolle, and he fouls another one. Well, the Mets have been searching for a two-hitter for most of the year. Pagan struggled big time in that spot. Daniel Murphy has gotten the most calls, but nobody has really taken the job and run with it. Justin Turner's been hitting second lately against left-handers. Of course, he's been hitting wherever he's been in the lineup. Eighth pitch of the at-bat, and Tolle fouls it off. So he's going on a Roger Bernardina type show.
And that's hitting in the second hole behind Reyes, who's been on all season long, leads major leagues in hits, stealing bases. You're going to get a lot of fastballs, and still the paltry average.
Well, some guys are not designed for the two-hole. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Again, the 3-2, and Tolle takes one toward the middle. Desmond, though, slides over and throws him out. 2 away. Nice range by Desmond to throw out Tolle.
Nothing better than watching middle infielders as they go towards the baseball. It's almost like they have their own way of moving sideways, like a fast-moving crab. They have the low. The body gets as low as they can, and they kind of shuffle over. And then get their feet under them, adjust, close that shoulder, and throw a strike. It's beautiful to watch.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Carlos Beltran. And he takes ball 1. We saw the Mercedes-Benz Ultra Mode brought to you by your Tri-State dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. Carlos 1 for 4 last night, hitting at .285. 4th in the league in slugging percentage at .555. And I think it's very telling that Terry Collins does not plan to use the weekend in an American League ballpark to DH Beltran. He's going to play him in right field the first 2 days, probably DH him on Sunday. The plan is to have Fernando Martinez be the designated hitter tomorrow and Saturday. And I think that's really an indication of just how far Carlos has come.
Yes. Less room to have to maneuver to in Yankee Stadium. Short porch.
That's certainly true. And he yanks one foul, 3-2. You can basically just play at the wall there and work your way in. Beltran has 2 career home runs against Levon in 34 at-bats. And the curveball strikes him out. Levon with that slow hook gets Beltran to end the inning. So the Mets are down 1-2-3. Dylan G back to the mound for the second. No score. Dylan G struck out a pair in the first inning en route to a 1-2-3 inning. Jason Worth hitting cleanup for the first time as a National, and he takes ball one. Only the 8th time in his career that Worth has hit cleanup. Did it 4 times last year with the Phillies. Jerry Mergelman trying to find the right combination. He had Wilson Ramos hitting cleanup the last 2 games.
Well, I was talking to some of the people with the Nationals, and they said that Worth, since he's been in Washington, this is about his 6th different change in his batting stance. So trying to find it himself.
Well, you can imagine the pressure that is on Jason Worth after signing an enormous contract. The guy who's always been a complimentary player, now asked to be a star player. And so far, the results have been quite mixed. Hitting just .238, 6 home runs. He's done for his career. First enjoyed some success with the Dodgers. That was back in '04, but then had the hand injury that really set him back for a few years and didn't really reemerge until he joined the Phillies.
He's saying, you just wait till you bring Bryce Harper up. I'll be ready. He's batting behind me.
So if Worth is playing right, where's Bryce Harper playing? Left, I guess?
I guess.
I mean, when Bryce Harper was in high school and in junior college, he was a catcher.
I know Kevin last night was mentioning Harper's numbers, which are off the planet. But the Mets have someone that's doing pretty well, too, for the Savannah Sand Gnats. And Corey Vaughn, who we saw in spring training, hit a home run. His first at bat, I think, this year in spring. And he's batting .344. His on base percentage is .485.
Worth is on with a walk. Well, that's the same league where Harper's playing, in the South Atlantic League. So that's the first base runner of the game as G walks Worth, and Nolan's going to have to find a way to reduce the numbers of pitches per at bat here. He's faced 4 batters and thrown 31 pitches. It's not a good ratio if you plan to go deep into a game. So here's Adam LaRoche, who has just been mired in a miserable slump since day 1 this year. 0 for 4 last night. LaRoche takes the first pitch fastball off the plate for ball 1.
One of the best ways to reduce your pitch count if your pitchers try to work double play, but that has not been a strength for Dylan G this season.
Well, he has not had a double play turn behind him this year. Now, part of that is G, and part of it is that the Mets have not been very good at turning double plays this year. Now, right now, they have as good a defensive double play combination as they can possibly put together with Tejada and Reyes.
But it's interesting, though, with this defense, when you think about it in the infield, if you had a hot shot to Turner at third, he might have to throw it to Reyes at second base to Turner. So the rare 5-6-3.
Hold to the right side. Murphy goes to Reyes for 1. Gets back to the bag. Double play. Nicely called, Mr. Garland. First of the year for G, a 3-6-3. 2 out and nobody on.
Boy, we saw Murph make a beautiful play on a sacrifice bunt last night, and just perfect form. A strike to second base. Reyes takes his time till Murphy gets back on the bag, and a 3-6-3 double play. That was just clinic on how to make that play.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Danny Espinosa. Espinosa hitting under 200. 1 for 3 last night. And the switch hitter bluffing a bunt. Takes ball 1. Well, Espinosa introduced himself to the Mets last year in a September game by homering from both sides of the plate. But he has not done much hitting since then, either the last 3 weeks of last season or so far this year. He was kind of anointed the starting second baseman this year for Washington, and in a lineup that has not produced, he has been among the non-producers. He does have 5 home runs and 22 RBIs, both of which lead National League rookies. But he pulls one down to Murphy, and he'll take it himself. So an active inning for Murphy, and that'll do it for the Nats. Jason Bay coming up to lead off for the Mets in the bottom of the second as he tries to get something going. No score at Citi Field. Jason Bay leads off in the home second inning. Bay 0 for 2 last night, but delivered a run with a sacrifice fly. The batting average down to .213. And the slider from Livan Hernandez, 1-1. Daniel Murphy on deck, then Justin Turner for the Mets at the bottom of the second. They got off to a hot start after coming back from the oblique injury, but it has been a big time struggle for him ever since. The one thing you can't deny, though, is that the Mets have been winning since Bay returned. They're now 15-7 with Bay in the lineup. And Livan falls behind 3-1.
Well, he's got the count in his favor, but I would always think that Hernandez would be a tough pitcher for Bay to face. I know in his history he's only 3 for 17, but hard to be patient enough against Livan.
Pulls it toward the hole and past the diving Cora. Base hit for Bay. So the Mets have the first base hit for either side.
Well, got this fastball up in the strike zone. Good swing on it. A bullet to the left of Cora. And that second skip, see how it hit that right where the grass meets the dirt, and it propelled it forward and kept it lower under the glove of Cora.
With all the work that has been done on the infield this week, dating back to Monday when we had that long delay for the grounds crew to fix the field, you wonder what the hops are going to be like at this point in the week. There's Daniel Murphy. You know, this infield normally plays so beautifully and so true, but Monday night, after all that work, it was the bad hop that Marlins got fortunate on, the one that bounced off Hanley Ramirez. And you just don't know at this point what you're going to get. Murphy hits one in the air to center. Should be easy for Bernardino. One away.
You know, the great thing about watching Justin Turner as he hit that little breaking ball from Gorzelani, you can see the breakdown of his swing, recognizing the curveball, putting the good swing on it, keeping his head on it. But since he's been up, and we saw him against Josh Johnson hit a good breaking ball to right field for a double and a base hit, he is a very good breaking ball hitter.
So here is Turner, 9 RBIs in the last 4 games. Did you see what Tom Gorzelani said after the game last night? I mean, just completely dismissing Justin Turner. He was asked about Turner after the game and the double that he hit that knocked Gorzelani out of the game. And Gorzelani said, well, I hung a slider in the middle of the plate. If he doesn't hit that, he doesn't belong here. Come on.
Well, I will tell you, Gary, from a guy that started a few games, the worst time to say something intelligent as he hits this ball over the head of Bernardino, and I've done it myself, is right after you've lost a start. You're bitter, angry, and humble pie is not usually what you usually come up with.
So you're saying it's not a good time for grace?
Yes. You are just so angry.
The slow curve knocked down by Pudge, and it's 1-2.
You know, how many times you hear starting crews say, well, you know, I don't want to get on the defense, but if we made a couple plays, you know, it might have been a different outcome. You know, I mean, all those things that they're inside of you, and you don't want them to come out, and it just does.
You're saying the better time to do that post-game interview would be the next day. And the curve in for a call strike 3. Justin Turner was had by the 67-mile-an-hour curveball. Second strikeout for Livan.
You know, it's funny, these guys do all watching the tape. They see the numbers. They go, he has a 65-mile-an-hour curveball. But until you see it, because no one else in the major leagues pitches like Livan Hernandez.
Well, there was his brother, El Duque, who would throw the 55-mile-an-hour curveball occasionally. Here's Jason Friday, and he takes a fastball for a strike.
But occasionally, Livan, that is part of his repertoire. He'll throw 10, 15 of those a game.
Well, that's how you get away with an 82-mile-an-hour fastball. Friday making his 18th start, hitting a .242. Doberman Tejada batting 8th in the order on deck.
Levon has a standing heart rate of about 42 when he pitches.
The Bjorn Borg of right-handers. 22 now to Friday. When the last time a Met hit a ball out of the ballpark against Levon? 2007.
Really? Wow.
Carlos Delgado against Levon when he was pitching for Arizona. Now the Mets do have one home run against him since, but that was Angel Pagan inside the park.
That's right.
Last year in Washington.
That's the one with Morgan went up against the fence to try to catch it and didn't catch it, and then threw his glove down and the ball was still rolling in left center.
It's part of how Nigel Morgan became a Brewer. He had a rough year last year, let me tell you. He had time in between, running over catchers who shouldn't have been run over, and raising his fist to the crowd after a dust up. And
he also went out at a pitcher, didn't he? I see.
Now he's hurt in Milwaukee.
He got hit again in the hand.
3-2 now to Friday. That's what Carlos Gomez playing every day in center field for the Brewers. They get set to run. 3-2 to Pridey, and the curveball pulled foul.
Well, they tried to put
the inside pitch on Levon Hernandez, brought to you by the Xerox business of baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
Sorry, Gary. To try to put his wonderful career in perspective, his 39th start against the Mets, that puts him up with Mike Krukow, Bob Knepper, Steve Rogers, Don Sutton. His next win will be his 170th, and he just passed 3,000 innings in his career. Just a wonderful career by Levon.
Those are big numbers. Friday takes on the inside corner. Strike 3 called. Didn't think so. Manny Gonzalez calls him out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Levon Hernandez. No score after 2.
Levon Hernandez, Dylan G, as we are scoreless back at Citi Field. Time for our favorite segment of the homestand, the Verizon Live Ask the Booth. I've found Rudy roaming around here. Rudy's from Pearl River. You have a question for the guys, right, Rudy?
Yeah, Keith, I would like to know, if they didn't cancel the game for the conditions last night, do you believe that they should have no cancellation policy like they do in football, and every game should be played regardless of the weather?
Keith could answer from the hotel in Sag Harbor. Gary and Ronnie, why don't you take that one?
Well, we could get Keith on the phone and see what he thinks.
What time is it? Yeah, it's safe. It's safe.
Well, the answer to the question is, of course not. The game should not have been played at times last night when it got especially heavy and the infield became like a lake. I think that was a mistake on the part of the umpires.
Well, there was a conversation that took place on Terry Collins, and one of the umpires said that he was going to stop it once he saw one of the players slip.
Pudge Rodriguez strikes out on 3 pitches, 3rd strikeout for G.
Which I found a very strange kind of comment. This would be Bill Miller.
That was Bill Miller. Terry quoted as making that comment. You know, that's the last thing you want is to wait for somebody to get hurt before you decide to stop the game. I think you have to use better judgment than that.
Yeah, listen, no one wants to delay a game. No one wants to be here 4 or 5 hours, but you know, the conditions are it, and the game was such a close game that you never want to have the result of the game be altered because of the conditions that you play in.
Well, I think part of what has happened, I mean, you've got a number of factors that are involved. One is because of interleague play, you now have a lot of situations where teams play only one series in a city. Now, it certainly wasn't the case last night as Cora grounds out to Reyes for the 2nd out. But that's created a greater imperative to get the games in because it's harder to reschedule them. So that's one factor. The other thing is most of these newer ballparks, including Citi Field, drain so well in the outfield that the condition of the outfield grass is rarely a consideration. So then it becomes only about the dirt areas. And I don't know why it is, but it seems as though the umpires are inclined to wait until it's really bad before thinking about stopping.
And it used to be in the day that the outfield used to be the worst part of fields, and guys would stand in the outfield with water up to their ankles. But I think even more importantly, and I say this only because I had to speak with Commissioner Seeley last week, and that was that there have been 30 postponements, and he's very cognizant of that, and I think he has told his umpires that.
1-2-3 inning for Dylan G. No score as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. Match at Citi Field featuring the national teams from Ecuador and Greece on Tuesday, June 7th at 8 p.m. are on sale now. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit 507TIXX.com now for your tickets. Ivan Hernandez made the last out in the top of the 3rd inning. Usually it takes him a lot of time to get from, say, being thrown out at first back into the dugout and then out again. There was a time when the pitcher made the last out of the inning First baseman flipping the ball, you take it and go right to the mound.
And then one of the players bring you your glove, which I thought was the coolest because that's the closest to being an everyday player. But nowadays, because of the long innings, we're part of the problem.
The innings are longer.
They can go in the dugout and take some time and get a glass of water and all those things.
Ruben Tejada made his season debut for the Mets last night. Went 1 for 3 and a walk. Hits the first pitch, past Cora, base hit. So Ruben Tejada 2 for 4 in his latest major league stint.
Well, Cora has to play in for the bunt. And to knock Tejada jumping on that first pitch, which is a good way to go against Livan Hernandez.
And this is part of what Terry Collins was talking about the other day when he was talking about Tejada and his development as an offensive player, that he's learned situations where he can jump on the first pitch and look to pull it.
Well, he said his ceiling is extremely high. He feels that. And here's a guy who last year spent all of his time in the minor leagues evaluating the players. Alex Cora, that's taking some time right now. He hurt his shoulder on that dive.
It's the second one he's had to dive for. He made a similar dive for Jason Bay's base hit in the second inning. But as we saw when Alex wasn't met, he would play through a lot of pain. So let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Guys, remember over the weekend in Houston, I mentioned Cora and Ray Ramirez, because I asked Ray, who works on everybody's glove, who's had the worst glove he's ever seen. He said Alex Cora. Without a doubt, he had a hole in it. So I talked to Alex as he comes in on the bunt attempt here and goes foul. And how about this? It indeed had a hole in it. Alex finally got a new glove this year. You know how many years he had the old glove? 7 years. I'm talking 7 years of spring training, of batting practice. He used one glove for 7 years. Give you guys who don't know an idea. I mean, usually a year, if that, and the guy switched gloves. He had it for 7. He's got a brand new glove this year. He finally let it go, guys.
He's from the Walt Weiss School.
There you go.
Walt had the glove that was known as the pancake, which I think he used for about 12 years.
He used it, and more Met fans know him when he was with the Braves. I played with Walt when he was with the Oakland A's. It was the pancake, but it was also called the thing, because when you would see it, you didn't know what it was. It looked like a glove.
G looking to get the bunt down, has one sacrifice this year, stabs at it and fouls it off. Then, of course, there's the opposite end of the spectrum. There was the Ray Ordonez school. Ray would get a new glove sent to him every week. He'd take them out of the box, wouldn't break them in, and use them in the game that day.
Superior talent. I mean, I don't know how you can do that.
How strong your hands have to be, right? Just to close the thing.
I don't know how you do that.
He was a savant, Ray Ordonez, when he came to play at shortstop. G strikes out trying to bunt, and he's upset with himself. That's 4 strikeouts for Livan Hernandez. G, a guy who is very cognizant of helping himself in ways like that. Goes back to the dugout.
Well, he went up against the master, though. We're talking about Livan Hernandez, who knows the most difficult pitch to bunt is the curveball, and he threw it twice. 113 sacrifice hits in his career. He knows a little bit about bunt.
And hitting and fielding. Here's Reyes, who flying to center his first time up. Tejada at first and 1 out. And Reyes lays off. 1-0.
Just checking on Tejada in the minor leagues. 2 stolen bases, caught twice.
Yeah, not a speedy guy. Gosh, totally on deck. But, you know, in all the conversation about who ultimately will be the 2-hitter on this team, certainly Tejada could be in that mix as well if Pagani struggles the way he did earlier in the season.
Well, I think you mentioned it last night, and that would be the ceiling, I think, that you'd want Tejada, is that the Polanco kind of model of player.
2-0 to Jose, and he gets the fastball and pulls it to first. LaRoche gets the out at second. The return by Desmond in time for the 3-6-3 double play. Not often you can double up Reyes as a left-hand hitter, but the Nats do there after 3, no score. Head to the Stadium Grill at Bowlmore Lanes in Times Square and see them take on the Yankees with fellow Mets fans. Plus meet Doc Gooden, all while winning great prizes at the Mets Live on SNY viewing party hosted by the Stadium Grill at Bowlmore Lanes tomorrow starting at 6 p.m. Dylan G faced the minimum over the first 3 innings. And so Roger Bernardino leads off the 4th. Had a 13-pitch at bat to start the game, but took a call, third strike, and a curveball. One of 3 strikeouts for G. Falls behind him 2-0. The only base runner against Dylan, a leadoff walk to Jason Worth in the 2nd. He was erased in a double play. First time that G faced the Nats, he held them hitless for the first 5 innings. And Bernardina hits it to shallow center. On comes Pridey. 1 away. Well, let's take a look at Dylan G's signature pitch as he tells us about his changeup.
I throw a 2-seam changeup, so I kind of just grip it right along the 2 seams here with my 2 middle fingers, and kind of a real loose circle change. And you know, it's all, like I said, it's all about arm speed. When I throw it, I really just try to pronate inside the baseball, and kind of gets that nice sink away.
He's Ian Desmond, and it's up and in. Tell me about 2 things that Dylan said in that conversation. One is he said a real loose circle change.
Well, a lot of guys are taught to bury it in their hand. That way it's really against your palm, and that way you can't throw it hard enough. But he's got a different approach to it. He talks about 2 things: the loose grip and the pronation inside the baseball. So what he's trying to do almost is throw a screwball. It's almost like a screwball for him. So that's why he has that loose grip. But he does it with his motion sometimes on his changeup is almost the same as his fastball. That's why he gets away with it.
Now, for those of us who don't have a degree in anatomy, what exactly does it mean to pronate?
Pronate is to, once he gets inside the baseball, got a baseball here. Once he gets inside the baseball and lets it go, you almost want to pop your elbow up and get inside of that baseball. So you pronate your arm over, so you turn that baseball over, and that's how you get that really good sinking action that he was talking about.
Tough play for Reyes, throwing across his body, and he gets Desmond. Boy, I don't know if that ball took a sideways bounce on Reyes or what, but he had an awkward position to field it and a tough throw to make.
It had some difficult spin on it. That's what the problem was, and he catches it on the short hop, and he just has such a great arm, especially on the run. Nice stretch by Murph.
Now, when you're pronating your arm like that, is that akin to throwing a screwball?
It's really, it's developed into a little bit of a screwball for him. When you think about it, you always try to throw the ball across. You know, you come over the ball, but that way he's trying to pronate. So your arm literally will go from, instead of throwing it naturally, you'll go where you turn your arm over. And it's probably why sometimes he's had some problems with his labrum, but right now that hurts a little bit.
I mean, throwing overhand is an unnatural act as it is, as it's looped into shallow right field, and on comes Beltran to make the catch on Nix. But to do that looks like it hurts.
It does hurt sometimes, but not for Dylan G so far today.
4 hitless innings for G, no score as we go to the bottom of the 4th. Josh Tolley leads off the home fourth inning against Livan Hernandez and takes a strike. Josh grounded out to short his first time up. Mets no runs, 2 hits. The Nationals no runs, no hits. Tolley, Beltran, and Bay trying to get it going for the Mets. Mets have had leadoff hits in each of the last 2 innings, but haven't gotten a runner past first.
It's very interesting to watch both Hernandez, you see Beltran on deck, and Rodriguez. I think they've recognized that the Mets are trying to be patient with Livan, so he's starting to pump that first pitch fastball in there, get ahead.
Shallow center field, and that'll fall for a hit. So for the 3rd straight inning, the Mets have a leadoff hit, and for Josh Tolley, that snaps an 0 for 14 stretch.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Brooklyn Burger, the premium steakhouse burger and the official burger of the New York Mets. Be sure to visit Keith's Grill at Citi Field, located on the field level behind section 132, to enjoy Keith Hernandez's favorite Brooklyn Burger.
You know, I like how that spot comes complete with sizzle.
You know, we have the question for Keith. We have the Keith Burger. You know, I think that the conspiracy for Keith is he's going to have himself inundated into this program in such a way that he'll never have to even come anymore.
So you're saying sometimes Keith makes as much of a contribution to the broadcast when he's not here.
He's been on twice already, 3 times now.
There you go.
Two, 3 more mentions, you'll be able to get paid for today.
I think it's great that Keith buys time on our broadcast. Here's Beltran, who struck out his first time up. Jason Bay to follow. And Livan falls behind 2-1.
Well, the little disadvantage here for Hernandez and the advantage for Beltran is all those slow pitches opens up that hole between first and second since Tolley's gotten that hit.
Carlos fouls back 2-2. Step or 2 behind Tolley.
That's not the way anywhere.
Slow curve fouled off as that would dial back to 61 miles an hour.
Especially with 2 strikes. He can play behind Tolley.
I mean, especially with a guy like Beltran up there. Teams are very reluctant to do that. I'm 100% certain why. Curveball hit out to right center. Bernardino glides over. 1 away.
Well, Gary, I think they're reluctant to do it, and I think sometimes you just blatantly miss it occasionally. You know, be in that situation and you're watching, you know, you might have a bench coach who's in charge of certain things and you're holding the runner on, and sometimes you just miss it.
Because particularly in this situation with the Nats, say you play behind Tolley and you look at the curveball from Livan.
It's almost like you have to tap that foot 3 times before the ball comes.
If you play LaRoche behind Tolley and Tolley decides to take off, they've got the great equalizer behind the plate as Bay pulls another base hit through the hole. And Jason is 2 for 2. Tolley pulls in a second. You know what I mean? Rodriguez still can throw. Maybe not like he did when he was 25, but he's still one of the best in the business.
Well, 2 pitches now for Bay, 2 base hits, both on the same pitch. Fastball up in the strike zone. Nice job by Jason getting on top of that ball. That's a ball off Hernandez. He's looking for you to pop that up, hit that to center field. But good top hand.
Mercedes-Benz Ultramo brought to you by your tri-state dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. So it's the first time in this game that either team has had a runner as far as second base. Murphy will try and cash it in. Tolley at second, Bay at first with 1 out. Murphy flying to center his first time, hitless in his last 7 at bats. Livan can't dent that outside corner.
Well, the pitch is supposed to be down and away and just middle, right on the numbers for Jason Bay. quick enough to get to that ball. IOTV pitch differential.
2-0 now to Murphy. Murphy got off to an enormous start this year with runners in scoring position, but has come down to earth. 1 for his last 14.
Well, I'd like to see him anticipate a fastball, middle, and put a good aggressive swing on it.
How about Pudge tapping that time inside? It's almost as though, and we've seen this with the Marlins as well, that they maybe think that Murphy is looking for location.
Well, it's gamesmanship by Rodriguez trying to change the location, but I think you're right. You can see that move by Murphy. He takes that one look back, and that's been alerted to most of the teams.
Out to center field, easy for Bernardina. And that's the second out. The way teams scout, particularly with video now, you can't get away with that for very long.
You know, and it's one of those cardinal sins of baseball to do it to another team, to peek and try to find location. I'll never forget when we traded Ed Lynch over to the Cubs. Ed thought he caught Keith after he went to the Cubs peeking, and walked up to the plate and said, "Keith, don't peek again because I'm going to have to drill you." And they were best friends.
Here's Justin Turner with another chance for a big 2-out hit. Had one in the game last night that drove in a couple of runs. Bats here with 2 out and 2 on. And he takes the slider for a strike, 0-1. Turner was caught looking on one of those slow curves by Livan Hernandez his first time up. And he hits it into right center field. On comes Bernardina. He has to play it on a hop. Here comes Tolley around third and heading home with the first run of the game. Justin Turner comes through yet again. That's 10 RBIs in the last 5 games. And it's 1-0 New York.
When he's hitting pitcher pitches, this is right on the corner. A little slider down and away off the end of the bat. And remember, in yesterday's game, Justin Turner beat Bernardina over his head. Probably took a step back this time and now drops one right in front of him.
And Tolley got a nice break on the crack of the bat, so there was no play at the plate. Now Jason Pridey with 2 out and 2 on. The Mets cracking through against Hernandez here in the 4th with 3 base hits to produce a run. Pridey struck out looking his first time, and he takes ball 1.
You know, one of the keys is that people always think you have to have great speed to be a good base runner. That is not true. If you have good instincts, as Josh did right there, he got that good secondary lead, started to move his way towards third base, crack of the bat with 2 outs, you can go.
Did you see also the rookie home plate umpire Manny Gonzalez was kind of in Tolley's path? He had to tiptoe his way to home plate. Kind of sidestepped out of the way at the last moment. Now Livan behind on Pridey 2-0 with Tejada on deck. He can't wrap it around the outside corner, and it's 3-0. Pridey took a look at Chip Hill to see if he has a hit sign here. Pridey's hit 3 home runs this year, and 2 of them have been 3-run homers.
I'd give it to him.
And it's ball 4, and the bases are loaded for Tejada. And again, Pudge tapping inside and moving outside.
I think that's one of those things that he's developed that he uses all the time. Doesn't matter if it was Murphy, we talked about before, or any hitter.
So now a chance for Tejada, who singled through the hole in the left his first time up. Let's have a run home here in the 4th and a chance for more.
Tejada got a base hit on the first pitch. Fastball from Livan Hernandez. Expect that the first pitch will be a slider.
Bay, Turner, and Pridey, the base runners with 2 down. Tejada had 18 runs batted in, 3 home runs playing for Buffalo this year. And he takes it for a strike. 0-1. 36-year-old Livan Hernandez facing 21-year-old Ruben Tejada. With 39-year-old Pudge Rodriguez putting down the finger. Generation gap. Off the corner, and it's 1-1. It does look like he's filled out a little bit this last year, doesn't it? Tejada takes a strike. Fastball from Livan, 1-2.
You see the speed of that pitch. You say to yourself, how can you not swing that fastball? It's going so slow. But what he does, Livan Hernandez, he starts that ball off the plate away. And if you're a hitter, that ball looks like it never comes over the plate.
So you give up on it.
Yes.
To right field, and Jason Worth right there to end the inning. But the Mets cash a run, and it's Justin Turner again with 2 outs. And this time, instead of hitting it over Bernardina's head, he dropped it right in front of him. Turner's 13th RBI in 15 big league at-bats. What a start he's off to. 1 inning.
I usually throw it 50 feet. I mean, I don't really know where it's going when I choke it back in my hand. You get a greater speed difference probably, but like I said, I'm all about throwing strikes in any count. And if I choke.
Well, Dylan G now has a run to work with as he takes them out for the 5th inning. He's faced the minimum over the first 4 innings. This is the only man to reach against him. Jason Worth walked on a 3-2 pitch to lead off the 2nd. He was erased in a double play. And LaRoche takes the first pitch fastball for a strike.
A little bit like last night's game, isn't it? So get a run early.
Well, the Nats have now been shut out 6 times this year with the 3-0 blanking they took last night. Adam LaRoche on deck. Jim Riggleman's team really struggling offensively. And, it's much like facing the Mets right now. If you're going to get the Nats, you better get them now before LaRoche starts hitting and before Zimmerman comes back later in the year. Because they can pitch.
And you think that Espinosa is going to get better at some point. Desmond's going to start to go.
Well, then the other piece is this guy at the plate. I mean, Jason Worth was signed to an enormous contract. And if you give a guy that kind of money, there's a natural expectation that he's going to be the guy to lead you out of the darkness. He hits it in the air to right. Beltran drifting back and pulls it in for the first out.
By the way, that ball in
Philadelphia is a
Citizens
home
Bank
run.
Park is a home run.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it tells you a little bit about change of scenery for Worth and how difficult that's going to be. A lot of F9s and F7s on the scorecard.
So 1 out and nobody on. Here's LaRoche, who grounded into a 3-6-3 double play his first time out.
I will say, though, Gary, I think things have changed a little bit. There used to be a time 15 years ago, maybe, there was an expectation level when you signed a guy to a huge contract that you would get the whole package. A great player, great citizen, great on the bench, great leader, a guy to inspire people. That's not always the case now.
You know when that stopped? It stopped when the Red Sox gave Manny Ramirez $160 million.
There you go.
And, you know, without any expectation that he'd be anything other than a great hitter. But, you know, Worth is a guy who you expect to give you production in all areas, not just as a hitter, but as a fielder, as a base runner. Maybe not face of the franchise because they've got that guy in Ryan Zimmerman, and they're going to have 2 more guys, Strasburg and Harper, who they expect to be the faces of their franchise.
Well, you see him talking with Rick Eckstein there, trying to recognize what he might have done wrong with that at bat. Now, that being said, I think what maybe Worth was signed for, one of the reasons, there's his numbers in Philadelphia, is that if you have a lot of the pieces here and coming, Worth represents a winning player from a winning team. And that is the kind of you know, culture you want to surround these young people as they come up.
Roche hits it into the shift, and Tejada from downtown Flushing throws it out for the second out. That's about as deep as you'll ever see a second baseman field a ground ball for a 4-3.
And you can't play all second basemen that deep. Why can you play Tejada that deep? He has a shortstop's arm. You play some second basemen that deep, they don't have the arm to get the ball to second base with any kind of pop on it. But Tejada, of course, does. Makes it look easy, and that's got to be frustrating if you hit a bullet and you know that's going to be hit with a traditional defense and another over.
10 in a row retired by G since the walk to Worth in the second inning. Now Danny Espinosa, who grounded out to first his first at bat, and the corners pinch in against him. Let me ask you a philosophical question, Ronnie. When does it become politically incorrect to try to bunt for a hit? At what point in the game?
I think in this kind of game, it's never politically incorrect to bunt for a hit because the score is 1-0.
So if it's, I mean, because, you know, I go all the way back to Tom Seaver's perfect game bid in '69 when Randy Hundley tried to bunt for a hit leading off the 9th.
And Tom Seaver was like, thank you very much. He made the play and the out.
But there are others over the years who have taken offense to bunt attempts during no-hit bids.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people. I don't feel that way at all.
Tejada slides over, and Dylan G has faced the Nats twice in his career, and each time he's held them hitless for the first 5. See what he can do from here. 1-0 New York. Dylan G leads off the last of the 5th inning and takes a strike from Livan Hernandez. G struck out trying to bunt in the 3rd inning and scored a run in the 4th on Justin Turner's 2-out RBI hit. Where have you heard that before? Meanwhile, G has not allowed a hit over the first 5 innings. Mets have had 5 hits against Livan. He fouls off the breaking ball. 0-2. Jose Reyes on deck, and then Josh Tolle here in the bottom of the 5th. Now the 1-2, and the curveball strikes him out. 5 strikeouts for Livan Hernandez. Kevin Burkhardt's been able to secure a table at the Acela Club.
Yeah, indeed, Gary. It's always a great place to come watch the game. And, you know, when we were in D.C., we talked a lot about Pudge Rodriguez, sat down and did that interview with him. Right now, he's basically only playing 1 out of the 3-game series, playing today after Ramos got the start last night. And, you know, he's very useful, though, when he's not playing, because talking to people around the Nationals, they say where he is when he's not starting is right next to Jim Riggleman all the time. And what he's doing is essentially coaching Ramos a lot. When Ramos comes off the field, they'll pull him aside. They talk all the time. Even sometimes during the game, he's talking to Riggleman, and maybe he directs or shouts a thing or two to Ramos. He's really taken a liking to Ramos, and he's to this role and been comfortable with this role of what he's doing. He's looked refreshed at the plate at times, and just trying to pass along some of that knowledge to Ramos, who really has appreciated it. Guys?
Well, the Nats from top to bottom have raved about the way Pudge has handled this situation, which, you know, we mentioned it briefly last night, is not all that dissimilar to the situation with Jorge Posada with the Yankees. But the way Pudge has handled it has obviously been completely different.
Maybe it's that being comfortable to know that when his career does end, 5 years from that day, he'll go in the Hall of Fame. And the other thing, we always talk about Alex Cora. Well, we don't know. Maybe Pudge Rodriguez has aspirations someday to be a manager. He's had a nice seat for many years.
Reyes gets under one. And Jason Worth waits for it to come down. 2 out.
Well, how about this run? I mean, you know, we were in San Juan last year. We saw Edwin Rodriguez there, and the first Puerto Rican manager, and what that meant. Can you imagine, you know, maybe Alex Cora with Pudge Rodriguez as the bench coach somewhere? that might get some raves.
And I'm sure Alex's brother Joey will have a managerial job before long. He's Ozzie Guillen's first lieutenant in Chicago. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Josh Tolle, who singled and scored the only run of the game in the 4th.
It's so interesting to see it. You know, each at bat entangles, meshes with other at bats. First 2 at bats, Tolle took the first pitch like he was setting up Livan for the 3rd at bat. First pitch fastball, gets it, misses it. Cat and mouse game between pitcher and hitter.
Carlos Beltran would be next. Livan's had only 1 1-2-3 inning, and that was the first. And a chance for one here in the 5th.
Seems partially interested.
It's like a walk in the park. On the inside corner, strike 3 call. That's a signature pitch right there. 6 strikeouts for Livan Hernandez, matching his season high of 1-0 Mets after 5. G has faced the minimum over the first 5 innings. He's allowed 1 walk, struck out 3. It's the longest that any Met has taken a no-hit bid since Dylan G in his major league debut last September against the Nationals. That one was broken up on a leadoff home run by Willie Harris in the 6th inning. Pudge Rodriguez leads off this 6th inning, and he takes a first pitch strike. Rodriguez struck out his first time up.
Look at that defense. Murphy can't play any further off that bag. That's Hernandez-like, trying to close off that hole. Rodriguez loves to hit that ball to the right side. Nice defensive positioning by Murph.
And he strokes one in the left. On comes Bay, and he makes the sliding grab. 1 out.
They got a nice jump on that ball.
A little off the end of the bat, but he saw it right off the bat to Jason Bay and came in and made a tough play, but pretty routine. See, when he goes into his slide, his head is completely still. Some outfielders, you'll watch it, it'll be going up and down. Not Jason Bay.
Key to that is running on your toes.
There you go.
And not on your heels. Corners pinch in for Alex Cora, who bounced to short his first time, and he takes a strike. That's meant to go 5 1/3 without allowing a hit. Zari Dickey in his 1-hitter against the Phillies last August. One and one to Cora. And in case you've just come recently to being a fan of the New York Mets, this is the Mets' 50th season. They've had some of the best pitchers in Major League history. They've never had a no-hitter. 1 and 2 to Cora. '25-year-old Dylan G. So far, that zero's intact. One and two to the former Met Cora. And he slaps one to short, and Reyes right in front of it. And there are 2 out. That is 13 in a row now retired by G, since he allowed his only base runner a walk to Worth leading off the 2nd. 2 out and nobody on. Livan Hernandez will take his turn. Livan has thrown 84 pitches over 5 innings. Down in the game 1-0. He is one of the better hitting pitchers. 10 career home runs. And he lines one up the middle of base hit. Well, wouldn't you know it? So yet another day will go by without a Met pitching a no-hitter, but a fine effort by Dylan G, going 5 2/3, and he gets a nice hand. And Livan Hernandez breaking it up with a 2-out hit.
Livan's 207th hit as a major leaguer. You mentioned those 10 home runs. He has 80 RBIs, and just jumping all over that first pitch fastball.
So now G can sit about trying to protect a 1-0 lead. Murphy will play behind Livan at first base. I remember El Duque stealing a base. I don't ever remember Livan stealing one. Here's Bernardina, and he swings and misses at the changeup. 0-1. Bernardina's taken a call third strike and fly to center 0 for 2. G at 75 pitches for the afternoon. Off the fists, out into right center, and Pridey slides over to make the grab, and the inning is over. G gives up his first hit, but he carries a 1-0 lead into the bottom of the 6th. Mets Weekly host Tiffany Simons talks baseball with Mets legend Tom Seaver. Plus, why Lazy Mary is played during the 7th inning stretch. I'd like to find that out. And who's behind the Mets tradition on Mets Weekly. New episode Sunday at 6, only on SNY.
You do not know the answer to that?
I have no idea.
Wow.
I mean, it's not a tradition that goes back 50 years. It's probably 15.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
So it wasn't in our day. In the 80s, it was never played. Okay.
No Lazy Mary back in those days. In those days, you got Meet the Mets during the 7th inning stretch. Now they'll play Meet the Mets when the team takes the field. In the old days, there was a different tune that Jane Jarvis wrote called Let's Go Mets.
Oh, okay.
Which brought the team onto the field. The ringtone of which, by the way, is on Howie Rose's phone.
Really?
Which I've got to get for myself. When I hear that tune, it brings me back to the upper deck at Shea.
Your childhood, right?
Sometime in the 60s, yeah. 1-1 to Beltran, leading off the home 6th, and he takes inside 2-1. Jason Bay on deck, then Daniel Murphy, heart of the batting order for the Mets as they look to add to their 1-0 lead against Livan Hernandez. Livan keeping it away from Carlos, 2-2.
You can see the frustration on Beltran. It's just never the same pitch twice in a row. Different speeds in the spectrum of anywhere from 65 to 85.
2-2, and that misses inside. Full count. Livan has struck out 6. That matches his season high. He's fanned as many as 11 in a major league game in the regular season. However, in the postseason, he had one of the best strikeout games in history. Driven to right field, but right at Worth. That's the hardest hit ball for the Mets all day. And Beltran retired one away.
What did he punch out, 15?
15 against the Braves in the League Championship Series in his rookie season in '97.
The Braves were very upset.
Eric Gregg was the home plate umpire. I remember the last strikeout. I did that game.
Oh, you did?
On CBS Radio. And I think it was Kenny Lofton was the last out, and the ball was at least a foot and a half outside.
He was throwing that slow curveball that would bend around the plate, and very few did bend around the plate.
Here's Jason Bay, who's 2 for 2 today. Twice has pulled the ball through the hole into left. And this time Desmond, the shortstop, has slid over a little further toward that hole.
Well, if pitchers had the equivalent of street smarts, Livan Hernandez would have them in spades.
He was the MVP of that LCS where he struck out the 15 against the Braves. He was also the MVP in the World Series. You look at the defense. Although a lot of the Marlins felt as though Moises Alou should have been the MVP of that series. Bay rips one down the left field line, and he's got himself his 3rd hit of the day. It sticks in the wall, and Bay easily to second base with his 4th double of the year.
Well, Bay came into this game, of course, we've talked about his struggles, gets a changeup in the middle of the plate, 3 for 17 coming into this game against Livan. Nice how he's staying back on that back leg, hitting that ball right in the front of the plate, and it's nice to see him pulling the baseball.
Mercedes-Benz Ultramo brought to you by your tri-state dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. So Bay with a 3 for 3 day, his first this year. Although you know what Ralph Kiner would say. Say if he had more lift in his swing, he'd have 3 home runs today. It's Murphy with a runner at 2nd and 1 out. He hits one down to 3rd, and Cora will check Bay back. And he throws out Murphy for the 2nd out. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, for a guy who has hit 30 home runs with regularity, Bay is just not getting the ball up in the air as much as he used to.
Well, we saw that in spring training, too. A lot of his hits were up the middle, more of the ground ball line drive variety. But, you know, Ralph has pretty high standards.
Yeah, like himself. Justin Turner is driven in the only run of this game. Single to center field. His 13th RBI coming in his 50th at bat. That's a pretty good pace.
Yeah.
Going to get you about 130 over a 500 at bat season. This one's out to right field, and Worth is there waiting for it. And that retires the side. Double and 1 left. 6 in the books at Citi Field. 1-0 New York. 5 players who've won both the League Championship Series and World Series MVP in the same season. Well, we've given you 1. So who are the other 4? Ian Desmond leads off the 7th against Dylan G, and he nubs one back to G. 1 pitch and 1 out in the 7th inning. That is just the 10th first pitch strike that G has thrown. 10 out of 20 batters, which makes it even more remarkable what he's been able to accomplish today.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that you think he'd be on top of his game, a strike thrower that Dylan is, but he has rarely been behind in the count, though, as you get deeper into the count.
I can't think of a particularly hard hit ball against him. Bud Rodriguez lined out to left, but it wasn't a sizzling line drive that Bay caught. The hit by Livan Hernandez was, you know, it's a grounder up the middle.
LaRoche hit the ball pretty sharply that on the double play, the 3-6-3. That was hit pretty sharply right at Murph, though. But no, not one of those scorching line drives yet.
Lance Nix is struck out and flied out 0 for 2. And he takes low 2-0. Dylan had a no decision in his last start in Houston. What turned into a 6-4 Med win. But he has been sharp today. But now behind in the count on Nix, 3-0. He's walked 1, struck out 3, allowed just 1 base hit, and that was to Livan Hernandez. And he walks Nix. So the third base runner of the game for the Nats. We were hearing earlier from Dylan G about his changeup and the way he holds it. Let's hear more.
When I try to grip it really far back in my hand, I usually throw it 50 feet. I mean, I don't really know where it's going when I choke it back in my hand. You get a greater speed difference probably, but like I said, you know, I'm all about throwing strikes in any count, and if I choke it, I don't really know where it's going.
That's about that loose grip he was talking about.
Well, you can also see late in the game how he relies on that changeup. That is his best weapon, his best pitch. You can see when he gets into, if he counts, he goes right to it. 2-0 and 3-0 changeup to Lance Nix. That's something you don't usually see.
Well, that's a guy with the kind of power where he could tie up the game with 1 swing. Now you got Worth with the tying run at first. And he throws it for a strike, 1-1. So if you're a team scouting Dylan G, do you start looking for changeups and fastball counts?
I think that if you are a veteran hitter who knows how to hit a changeup, yeah, you can look for a changeup in a hitter's count.
Fastball fouled back, and it's 1-2 to Worth.
The
on deck.
The advantage that Dylan has, though, is, you know, hadn't been around the league that long. So, you know, until you see that changeup, see how it reacts and the speed of it, it's hard to sit on it.
He made 5 starts last year. It's his 5th start this year.
He and Tolley have been working pretty well all game today. Changeup away. Very rare right-hander can throw a changeup away.
And Worth lunging for it, pops it up. Tejada moving out, and he'll make the grab for the 2nd out.
You know, I threw that out there, and I guess I should explain it. See, he's looking for that changeup away, and he puts it away, and that is a pitch that you don't rarely see. Why? We talked about the pronation. When you pronate your arm, usually that ball is going to come back down and into the right-hander, but he aims that off the plate away and settles it on the outside corner. Very talented.
So it's almost like you would throw a 2-seam fastball to come back over the plate, except you're throwing a changeup.
And what he does is probably holds on to it just a little longer to make sure he gets it on that outside corner.
So here's Adam LaRoche. That's put the shift on against him, and he fouls it off the left side. LaRoche hit into a 3-6-3 double play. Then last time up, he hit one to Tejada playing on the outfield grass.
You see that defense, Tejada back there again. The outfield extremely deep, of course, trying to take away doubles. And before the game, I had mentioned this is the only guy I thought with his swing, long swing, change-up pitches from Dylan G would be the guy he'd have to be worried about.
Late on the fastball, and it's 0-2.
Now, if you're a young pitcher, talented like Dylan is, you just caught that fastball by Tolley, you'd be tempted to throw that pitch again, fastball up, even higher. Let's see what Tolle goes with. There he goes. Double up.
Fastball higher. Popped up. Into foul ground comes Turner. And reaching. And did he hold on? He did. Terrific play by Justin Turner to end the inning. Didn't have a lot of time to get himself set. And he makes the nice backhand grab and drape it over the railing. He hangs on. Justin Turner just keeps getting it done. Justin Turner making a terrific play. And Dylan G appreciative.
It was nice of the Met fans to give him enough room to make that play.
Jason Pridey leads off the home seventh and takes a curveball for a strike. Pridey has struck out and walked today, 0 for 1. Well, last night, Mets got 7 scoreless innings out of John Neese. Today, they've gotten 7 scoreless innings out of Dylan G. The difference today is that instead of taking 112 pitches to get to 7 innings, it's taken G far less. And so he is likely staying in this game to bat.
And that's after that first inning. 13 pitches to the first batter, Bernardino.
0-2 to Pridey. And he reaches forward and fouls it off. G has thrown 87 pitches through his 7 innings. His career high is 180. Did that last year against Milwaukee.
Well, when you sit up here and you used to play the game, occasionally you see guys pitch or play, and the first thing that comes to your mind, boy, someone taught him how to play this game correctly. And Dylan G is one of those guys. When you watch him pitch, I know who his mentor was. I know that you mentioned Nolan Ryan.
Well, that's who his idol was. And he said, I'll never pitch like Nolan Ryan, but I can work like Nolan Ryan.
And carry himself like Nolan Ryan. But whoever taught him how to pitch taught him correctly. He has a great understanding on how to get hitters out.
2-2 to Pridey with Tejada on deck and G scheduled behind him. Levon up to 100 pitches on the day. Meanwhile, the Nationals have not scored a run since Monday. On the inside corner, strike 3 called. So Pridey down looking. 7 strikeouts for Levon, a season high, and he has certainly had an impact on all around him, including the young closer for the Nats, Drew Storen.
I've always liked Levo, but now that I play with Levo, I like him even more. I mean, just to see how he is so casual and he just doesn't get rattled by anything. And I mean, we were talking about earlier that I've seen some plays made by him this year that I mean, more normal guys would probably borderline panic and really rush it, and he kind of strolls over and makes a nice easy play and makes it look easy.
Casual? This guy?
Well, you probably can tell by the broadcast, we really enjoy watching Levo pitch, always have. And the thing about Livan Hernandez is that you were mentioning his pitch count. I've done games where he's thrown 135, 140, 145 pitches.
I think those days are probably behind him. Now, the other thing to remember about Livan Hernandez is that his last start against Florida, he lost 1-0. Matched up against Anibal Sanchez, he gave up a late home run to Mike Stanton for the only run of the game. So here he is in the same spot again, down 1-0 in the 7th. One to Tejada, and he fouls it away. Let's check in with Kevin.
As Storin was saying before the game about Levo, he said, you know what else amazes me is I love how he dupes guys. I mean, he gets into situations, and we've seen it, where he tries to deke a guy. Remember, we were just in Washington where I was at the one where he tried to get Reyes off of first base when he was looking away. I mean, he does it all the time. And on the Reyes stolen base, when Pudge caught him in D.C., he had the slide step. He always seems like he's a step ahead.
Punched the other way, and Espinosa can't make the grab, and Tejada's safe. That ball kept working its way away from Danny Espinosa, and then he just muffed it.
Hit off the end of the bat, and I don't think Espinosa knew whether to reach for it or dive for it. Got caught in between and went off the end of the glove.
You swear that a base hit for Tejada. So somebody hit Levo's curveball.
I told you, sometimes the best way to go against Levo, he throws slow, hit it soft.
Jim Riggleman's on his way out to the mound. Dylan G is probably going to be asked to bunt. Riggleman tends to make more non-pitching change trips to the mound than any other manager, so this is not likely to be a pitching change.
Well, he just really wants to set his defense here, and we heard Drew Storin talking about it. Livan Hernandez is probably one of the best fielding pitchers in the game. He will try to get an out at second base if G does not execute the bunt well.
Cole Kimball, the right-hander, recently called up by the Nats. Sean Burnett, the lefty, in the bullpen.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. Looking for the perfect balance of flavor and heat? Add Cholula to your next meal. The hot sauce with the wooden cap. By BMW, the ultimate driving machine. And by the David Wright Foundation's 5th annual Las Vegas night, Thursday, June 2nd at the South Street Seaport in Manhattan. Individual tickets can be purchased by visiting davidwrightfoundation.com.
The defense, you can see the corners are in. Roche holding Tejada at first.
And G struck out trying to bunt in the 3rd inning. Fouls off another one.
This would be a good time, Chip Hale, to come and speak to G. He's just jabbing at the baseball right now, and I think that's, for most pitchers, especially young pitchers, trying to help their cause, it's a little panic, feeling the pressure a little bit. Just trying to jab at it. You want to hold that bat out and catch the ball with the bat, not jab at it.
G has 1 hit and 1 sacrifice this year. Ruben Tejada at first. Dylan G at the plate. 2 of the 15 Mets who have played for both the Mets and the Buffalo Bisons this year. 15. And it'll be 16 once Chin Lung Hu reports to Buffalo and plays there. That's a lot of minor league help in the course of a month and a half. Reyes on deck.
One thing you have to do if you're Dylan G, if you don't get a good bunt down, you got to sprint down the first base line because Levo will try to turn 2.
And the curveball bunted, and that'll move the runner along. So the experience that Dylan had in the course of the afternoon, trying to lay down a bunt against Livan Hernandez, finally pays off.
Very funny. He just crossed himself. He needed the divine intervention to get this bunt down. Curveball, much better. Didn't jab at it as much. Very nice. Deadens it off the end of the bat. kept his eyes on the baseball the whole time. Nice job.
So now runner in scoring position for Reyes. 3 hits last night, but 0 for 3 today. A couple of fly balls and into a 3-6-3 double play. I don't think I ever remember Reyes hitting into a 3-6-3 double play before. They're going to walk him intentionally and pitch instead to Josh Tolley with 2 men on. And we'll see whether they bring the left-hander Burnett in at that point to face Tolley. Levon will be over 110 pitches once he's done with this intentional walk.
Well, this strategy did not work in the first game, but it was Turner who came up in that situation.
Well, and depending on how Terry Collins is feeling about things, he might send Ronnie Polino up there if they bring in the left-hander. There's ball 4, and Reyes goes to first.
You know, Dylan G did very nicely there, and it just shows you what kind of instincts he has. Ball's coming. See how he moved up to the front of the box there? Almost a full stride. That bat's in fair territory. And also, what do? You catch that curveball break before it breaks to your knees. You catch it around waist level. So, well played, Mr. G.
Well, Tolley the batter, and Levon Hernandez will stay in to face him. Josh is 1 for 3 today, singled and scored the only run of the game back in the 4th.
And the outfield is very shallow here against Josh.
And the fastball away for ball 1. Well, this is clearly the guy that Hernandez wants to get. He's got Beltran standing on deck. Tolley in a position to try and give the Mets and Dylan G some breathing room. Mets now have 7 hits off Levon. Takes a strike, 1-1. Josh went up with a little different game plan the last time.
He did. You look at the outfielders here. Lance Nix, probably the weakest arm of the outfielders. Bernardina, great arm, a little erratic. And Jason Worth, as we've seen in Philadelphia, probably the best arm and most accurate of all 3 outfielders.
Tolley last at bat tried to jump Levo on a first pitch fastball. This time going back into a different mode. Rough year for Tolley, particularly in these RBI situations. Overall, hitting 154 with runners in scoring position. The Mets are dead last in the National League hitting with runners in scoring position. They were at 221 coming into the day. That's what made Turner's hit last night and his hit today so huge.
Really interesting. Pudge going out there. They want to get on the same wavelength, he and Levo, so there's not a lot of disagreement back and forth. Pudge probably went out there and said, Levo, how do you want to get this guy out? It's a huge at bat, of course. Levo relays that information to Rodriguez, and now he'll put the fingers down.
Almost certainly Hernandez's last batter, no matter what happens. And Tolley watches on the outside corner. It's 1-2.
That's that backdoor little slider that he'll throw. See how he sets up Rodriguez? That pitch is the setup to get a strike because it never goes around the plate, and then counter with probably the fastball in that he runs back over the middle of the plate.
Tolley grounds it weakly to the second baseman, and Espinosa throws him out. A fine job by Levon Hernandez to get through the inning. Send it to the 8th. 1-0 Mets. 5 players to win the LCS and World Series MVP the same season. Well, we told you Livan Hernandez was one.
I knew Cole Hamels was one.
Willie Stargell, Darryl Porter. Wow. And Earl Hershiser, I think we probably should have gotten.
I'm not going to mention that. Past that.
Now, Livan Hernandez, 7 strong innings, but so far not strong enough because Dylan G has been better. 1 hit through 7. Danny Espinosa leads off the 8th. And G misses wide for ball 1. Espinosa's been up twice, both times grounded out to the right side. Livan has done his work. Now it's up to his teammates to try and find a run. It's been 17 innings without a run for the Nats dating back to Monday night when they beat the Pirates. They didn't score in their last time through in that inning, and they've been shut out over 16 innings in this series. Popped up in foul ground. Turner, who made a spectacular play in the last inning, runs out of room this time, and it's 1-2. Tyler Clippard is up in the Nationals bullpen. He'll be on the pitch in the bottom of the 8th. Espinosa, Rodriguez, and Cora, the scheduled hitters here at the top of the 8th. Dylan G has never worked beyond 7 innings in his major league career. Of course, this is only his 10th career major league start. 2-2 to Espinosa. He's worked 7 innings 3 times. This is now 4. Tim Burdack staying ready in case G needs help here in the 8th. Punch to shortstop, and Reyes was playing him perfectly near the bag. Throws out Espinosa, 1 away. SNY is giving back to local youth baseball leagues with the SNY Play Ball Award presented by Sports Authority, offering $5,000 grants to in-need organizations to be used for new equipment, uniforms, or field improvements. The deadline to apply is June 15th. For details, visit SNY.tv or any local Sports Authority location. 1 out. Now Pudge Rodriguez, who before Livan Hernandez broke up the no-hit bid with his base hit with 2 out of the 6, came the closest to getting a hit. Lined one to left, and Jason Bay made a nice sliding grab. Cole Kimball on the left, Tyler Clippard on the right, both staying busy in the Nationals bullpen. And Pudge takes it inside, 2-0. Rodriguez with 15 hits this season, giving him 2,832 in his career. It's going to be a slow road to 3,000 for Pudge. Not sure exactly how he's going to get there with the playing time he's likely to get now with the Nats.
I think it's going to be tough for him to get there, but he's got all the other credentials. 14 times an All-Star, 13 Gold Gloves, 7 Silver Sluggers.
Ball 4, and G issues his 3rd walk of the day. So 1 out and 1 on in the 8th. Alex Cora coming up. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break.
Texas, Detroit, Gerald Laird.
Yep, same one. Well, the Cardinals continue to get fine pitching performances out of, lesser pitchers like Kyle McClellan coming out of the bullpen to start this year. Pudge leaves for the pinch runner. Brian Bixler in to run for him, carrying the tying run. But that's the Dave Duncan effect, isn't it?
It really is.
So now Cora, who's been up twice and grounded to short both times. 1 on and 1 out. G up to 97 pitches on the afternoon. Cora bats. Matt Stairs has come out on deck to pinch hit for Hernandez. So the Nationals hoping for something other than a double play and then a blast. They don't even need a bloop and a blast. Just not a double play. 1-0 to Cora. G losing a little bit of the command of the strike zone.
He is. He's kind of aiming the baseball. First time we've seen it this afternoon.
You know that Terry Collins would love to get him through the 8th, just if nothing else to give Jason Isringhausen a day off. Yeah. Got Burdack and not Izzy up in the bullpen in the 8th inning today. And Cora takes a strike, 1-1. But still in a 1-0 game with a young pitcher making just his 10th start, it's very difficult as a manager to know when the time is right. Right now, though, he's working on a one-hit shutout, so hard to mess. And time was asked for before that throw to first base.
I think for G here, and we talked about how he loves his changeup, that little running fastball away, try to have Cora hit a ground ball.
To get a ground ball, Cora is just not fast at all.
That's what Josh called. Fastball away.
Looped into shallow center. That'll fall for a hit. Dixler to second, stops there, so Alex Cora has the Nationals' second hit of the game. And now the tying and go-ahead runs are aboard with one out. Matt Stairs has been announced into the game as a pinch hitter. You got the lefty Burdack ready in the bullpen, but G is going to stay in to face Stairs because it's Dan Warthen going to the mound, not Terry Collins.
Well, there was a little gut check moment yesterday's game for Jonathan Neese when he was allowed to stay out there, went 3-0 on Roger Bernardina and came back all the way, and Murphy made that fine play at first base. And maybe Terry Collins' theme now with these young pitchers, because they've been so good, pushing them to the next level.
It was very interesting, though, the way Terry talked about it before the game. It was like, with a young pitcher, I want to get him out of there on a good note. And I think G falls more in that category. He said Neese has been in the league for a couple of years, so he needs to take that next step forward. But it seems as though he's having G make that next step right here. So the dangerous Matt Stairs is off to a very rough start at the plate this year, looking for his first run batted in. But the 43-year-old Stairs, the all-time leader in pinch hit home runs. He has 23 of them. Ball one to Stairs.
That being said, dangerous proposition having G face Stairs here. I would have liked the Burdack Stairs matchup better if Stairs would have hit against Burdack.
2 on and 1 out, and Stairs takes inside and low, 2-0. Roger Bernardina on deck. Well, if he doesn't get Stairs, you have to figure this is going to be G's last batter. Pedro Beato up alongside Burdack in the Mets bullpen. Now the 2-0 to Stairs and a big swing at the changeup, 2-1.
Whoa, nice pitching there. 2-0 changeup. That takes a lot of guts. And you know, Stairs is going to be aggressive with that home run swing.
As you said it before, that's what G has been doing so well, throwing that changeup in fastball counts. And Stairs has said his job every time up is to try to hit a home run. And he takes low and inside, 3-1.
Well, the veteran hitter biting once, twice bitten, once shy. Not swinging that time.
So now G in a spot becoming ever more dangerous. Three-1 to Stairs. Swing and a miss. Big cut of the fastball, 3-2.
Boy, he beat him with that fastball, but it was a steady diet of changeups. Matt Stairs just a little behind. You see that swing. He's trying to get something that he can pull. And G running that fastball away. Look at a Ruthian cut by Stairs.
The oldest position player in Major League Baseball. 3-2. Little tapper, and it's a foul ball. Foley popped up and grabbed it quickly just in case. But the home plate umpire Manny Gonzalez ruled it foul.
Well, just off the end of the bat, and you can see there, totally caught that in the right-handed batter's box.
Dixler the tying run at second. Cora at first with 1 out. 3-2 to Stairs. Line right field. Beltran coming over, and he makes the grab. A big second out for Dylan G in the 8th. And here comes Terry Collins, and that's going to be all for G. With Bernardina coming up.
Well, nice job. He gets behind, running that fastball away. Came back with a changeup down. That didn't work either. The 2-0 changeup was the key. Turn that bat around. ran a fastball away on the 3-1 count. And again, a little changeup away that stayed foul. And again, hung that changeup. And luckily, Stairs hit the line drive to Beltran.
Dylan G, longest outing of his major league career. Working on a 2-hitter as he takes his exit. Call to the bullpen is brought to you by Lincoln. Tim Burdock will come on to try to get the final out at the top of the 8th. After 7 2/3 tremendous innings, he'll leave with a couple of runners aboard and hope that Tim Burdock can get one enormous out for him. Mike Morse will pinch hit for Roger Bernardina against Burdock with 2 out and 2 on. And Morse hits the first pitch. Tejada had him played perfectly, and the 4 unassisted force play ends the inning. Now defensive positioning a huge key on that play. One pitch, Burdock gets the big out.
Mets open their series against the Yankees. Mets-Yankees Subway Showdown presented by Dwayne Reed. Coverage begins tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. only on SNY. And there are your pitching matchups for the weekend, brought to you by Citi. Dickey against Freddie Garcia, who was in spring training with the Mets.
That's right. 2 seasons ago?
Yep. Chris Capuano goes Saturday against A.J. Burnett, and then Sunday afternoon Mike Pelfrey against Ivan Nova. Wilson Ramos comes in to catch. He'll bat 9th for the Nationals. Cole Kimball is the new pitcher. He will bat in the number 1 spot. Brian Bixler, a pinch ran, stays in the game in left, and Lance Nix will move over and play center field.
And Kimball was just recalled on Saturday from AAA Syracuse.
Mets looking for insurance in the bottom of the 8th, leading 1-0. Carlos Beltran leads off and takes ball 1. Carlos 0 for 3 today, lined out to right his last time up. Fourth appearance for Kimball. And Beltran hits it sharply, but Espinosa makes the grab. 1 away. Frankie Rodriguez last night registered his 13th consecutive save. Ready to get another crack in the 9th inning today. Well, Derek Collins accomplished 1 goal. He gave Jason Isringhausen the day off. Jason Bays had a big day. His first 3-hit game of the season. Dylan G hanging around to see how this one comes out. Hoping to win a 1-0 game.
Kimball might have some family here from Hackettstown, New Jersey. Centenary College.
Sean Burnett staying busy in the Nationals bullpen. And a breaking ball strike to Bay, 1-1. Bay with 2 singles and a double today. Kimball's one of those guys who looks like he's throwing harder than the radar gun.
Yeah. He's got that big windup. Good breaking ball.
Bay pops one up. And Espinosa waiting for it. So Bay retired for the first time today. 2 out and nobody on in the bottom of the 8th. Looking ahead to the 9th inning, the Nationals will have Desmond, Nix, and Worth coming up. So for a team that is trying to avoid getting shut out for the 2nd straight day, they at least have their best hitters coming up. Here's Murphy with 2 out.
Well, I tell you, Murph is really in between. His last at bat, first pitch swinging, just kind of served a ground ball to the third baseman. That's not the kind of swing we see from Murph when he's on the top of his game.
We talked about it last night about him waiting a little too long on some of these pitches and then having to use an emergency swing, which is fine if you're trying to foul off a pitch with 2 strikes.
Well, maybe that developed into a bad habit for him, that 2-strike swing. You know, the equivalent of feeling for the ball as a hitter is when a pitcher's trying to aim the baseball. It's the same thing.
Now Kimball behind him 3-0. Cole Kimball from Great Meadows, New Jersey. Hackettstown High School. Justin Turner's driven in the only run today. Bet you already knew that. Murphy's swinging on 3-0. Coming up right after we're done here, it's Lincoln Postgame Live. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda will have all the highlights, all the interviews, all the analysis. Lincoln Postgame Live right after the game and right after every game on SNY. And 2 high, ball 4. Murphy's on with a walk. So the Mets have a 2-out base runner, and Justin Turner will get another crack.
Now Murph doesn't steal many. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 8th. This might be a nice time to try to get one. Try to push another run across.
Murphy has 1 stolen base this year. Justin Turner 10 RBIs in his last 5 games, including the only one today. 1 for 3 in this game. Single to center in the 4th to bring home the run. And he takes a slider off the plate for ball 1. Livan Hernandez went 7 innings, allowed a run on 7 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, and a chance for his second consecutive 1-0 loss. There were 2 1-0 games in the American League yesterday. Red Sox beat the Tigers 1-0, and the White Sox behind Jake Peavy beat the Indians 1-0.
And that's the first time I was listening to one of these sports programs. First time that's happened. White Sox, Red Sox, 1-0 victories since 1909.
Really?
Yeah, 1909.
That's over 100 years ago.
Steve
McCarty out to the mound after Kimball falls behind Turner. Well, yesterday there were 5 shutouts in the major leagues, including the Mets win. It was the 3rd time this season that there have been 5 shutouts in one day. And they've all occurred in the last 3 weeks, all the month of May. Now, just for sake of comparison, back in the steroid era, from 1998 to 2001, that's a 4-year span, there were only 3 days combined in those 4 seasons where there were 5 shutouts in a day in the major league. So pitching is back. We've certainly seen it on display today from young and old alike. 2-0 now to Turner. And fastball for a strike. Saw the craftiness of the 36-year-old Livan Hernandez and the budding precision of 25-year-old Dylan G. Quite a performance. Turner fouls it off, and it's 2-2. Keith Hernandez poster right there.
I told you that's about the 5th reference there. One more.
Do you think he's planting these people?
If he looks at 32 there. Still no gray.
Very nice. Breaking ball misses, and it's 3-2 to Turner. So Murphy will be on his way, and LaRoche is continuing to hold him on. Three-2 to Turner, and he walked him. So back-to-back 2-out walks issued by the rookie Kimball. And now with 2 out and 2 on, Jason Pridey will get a turn. Jim Riggleman on his way to the mound. He'll bring in a left-hander to face Pridey. So pitching change here after Kimball got the first 2 out. He issues a pair of walks. Mets looking for insurance in the bottom of the 8th, leading 1-0. And the veteran left-hander Sean Burnett will come on for the Nats. 1-0 New York. We'll be right back. bottom of the 8th.
His ERA a little high here for Burnett, who has 4 saves this season.
You see the lefty-righty splits there, and interesting move by Terry Collins. He's going to have Scott Harrison bat for Jason Pridey, which means that Harrison will play center field in the 9th inning.
Definitely weakens your defense in a 1-0 game, but I think after the 2 hits that Harrison had yesterday, Collins trying to push the envelope a little, trying to get one more run in here, a little more breathing room.
And Harrison attacks the first one and lifts it to left. And Brian Bixler is there. So Burnett comes on, throws 1 pitch, and puts up a 0 in the bottom of the 8th. Now it's up to K-Rod to try and seal it for Dylan G in the 9th. Field as we go to the 9th, and Frankie Rodriguez on to try for his 14th save.
We're working on a 13 straight saves. K-Rod has been outstanding.
A lot of base runners, 19 hits and 12 walks in 21 2/3, but he's been able to sidestep trouble. Ian Desmond leads off in the 9th inning, 0 for 3 today. And K-Rod misses up and in for ball 1. It's Desmond, Nix, and Worth due up for the Nationals in the 9th. Dylan G went 7 2/3, allowed no runs and 2 hits. Tim Burdack threw 1 pitch, got the final out of the 8th, and now K-Rod trying to nail it down. 17 straight scoreless innings for Frankie. Gets even on Desmond, 1-1. Last time the Mets won a 1-0 game, it was last September 13th against the Pirates, and Dylan G was the starter in that game. Just missed. 2-1.
If you've noticed that Francisco Rodriguez throwing a lot more 2-seamers in the last couple of weeks.
Desmond hits it on the ground for Murphy to handle. 1 out in the 9th. So now Lance Nix, probably as dangerous a hitter as the Nats have in their lineup. Tonight at 10:30, get continuing coverage of today's Mets National Series finale, plus interviews, highlights, and recaps of everything New York sports on Geico Sports Night tonight, starting at 10:30 p.m. only on SNY. Nix today is 0 for 2 and a walk. 5 home runs this year in just 87 at bats. For 7 in his career against K-Rod. Made the second out of the 9th inning last night. K-Rod misses badly with the curve, 1-0. Jason Worth on deck. Here's the 1-0 to Nix. And another curve. That one bends in for a strike. 1-1. Last time the Mets shut out the same team in back-to-back games was that incredible series against the Phillies last May, when they shut them out 3 straight here at Citi Field. And Nix fouls off a 3rd straight curveball, and it's 1-2. K-Rod clearly has his game plan against Nix.
You don't see this very often, but the Mets defense in the infield, other than Turner, are all in the outfield grass. That's where they're starting their position. As deep as you can get for Nix.
Now it's 1-2. Stroked over the 3rd base bag. That's a fair ball. Up against the tarp. Nix takes the turn, heads for second. Base throw, not in time, and Lance Nix has himself an opposite field double. So after 3 straight curves, Frankie came with a fastball, and Nix put it right over the 3rd base bag.
Well, a lot of times we talk about guys going that way with the ball, with just a little late there by Nix, who just curls that inside the 3rd baseline. Nationals have some life.
So the tying run in scoring position with 1 out, and now Jason Worth, who's gone 0 for 2 in a walk today. So K-Rod has work to do here in the 9th. So Nix has his first ever hit against K-Rod in 8 at-bats. Worth is 0 for 7 against Frankie Rodriguez. The first pitch hit hard, and Turner with a nice backhand stop hesitates before throwing and got him at first. Justin Turner doing it in every manner possible. He's driven in the only run. He draped across the railing to make a catch in foul ground, and now this play.
The ball got him turned around. He didn't even know where he was there for a second, but he was absolutely off the base in Murphy and also beat the play, or at least tied the play at first base.
He was certainly off the bag. Phil Cuzzy, the first base umpire, and Jim Riggleman is out and getting right up in Phil Cuzzy's face. Worth, as he came across the bag, jumped high in the air. He could not believe that he was not called safe. A, he beat it, and B, Murph was not on first base.
Also, look where Worth's eyes are. He's looking right down at the right foot of Murphy, so he has the best view of it. Maybe better than Cuzzy's. But see the ball about to be in the glove. He's already separation from that first base bag, and it's not in the glove, and Worth is on the front of that first base bag.
You've got a Nationals team that has not scored a run in 18+ innings. On the verge of being shut out for the 4th time in the last 10 games. And Justin Turner made a terrific play stopping that ball, but it should not have been an out. Instead, though, the Nationals are down to their final out.
He's trying to go to the home plate umpire and trying to get him maybe to take charge and have the umpires get together and reverse the call. That's not going to happen.
That is definitely not going to happen.
And he's going to be thrown out in a second because Gonzalez asked him not to come and discuss the matter.
You've got a very young crew. We mentioned that at the outset of the series. Bill Miller is the crew chief, and he's still a relatively inexperienced crew chief. Manny Gonzalez, a rookie umpire behind the plate.
Riggleman's probably saying, you guys have been wanting to get stuff right. Well, this is one that you could get right, but it's not going to happen. Paul is going to stand.
Well, there's your Coors Light freeze cam, and it certainly
it's
lets you know if you didn't already.
Yeah.
But the Mets got the benefit of the call there. What's amazing is that that play was as close as it was, with Justin Turner having no idea of his bearings after he stopped that ball. First looking behind him and then hesitating before throwing, and still getting it out at first base.
I think he was thinking of looking the runner back at second before making the play at first, and then realized that he better make that play a little quicker.
So now LaRoche with a tying run at 3rd and 2 out. The Nationals down to their final out. And LaRoche swings and misses. 0-1.
Well, just a BB from Worth, who's so clutch anyways. But Turner gets turned around the wrong way. Looked at second, see? And by the time he finds Murphy, the throw is a little late, and it takes Murphy off the bag.
LaRoche is 0 for 3 today. Last time LaRoche hit a foul pop-up outside of 3rd, and Turner went to the railing and made a terrific play. Hit the barrier hard and held on. See LaRoche's numbers against K-Rod, 2 for 3 with a home run. Knicks the tying run at 3rd with 2 down. 1-1. And LaRoche takes it wide. 2 balls and a strike. To count up the number of times in K-Rod's career that he's pitched with the tying run at 2nd or 3rd. Living on the edge. Grounded to the right side. Tejada comes in from the outfield grass and throws out LaRoche, and the ball game is over. Frankie Rodriguez saves it for Dylan G. G went 7 2/3, allowed just 2 hits. Justin Turner drove in the only run of the game. K-Rod finishes it up, and the Mets, with back-to-back shutouts, sweep a 2-game series from the Nationals.
Well, the Mets caught a break there in the 9th, but they will take it. Terry Collins will take it. Frankie Rodriguez, 18 straight innings without allowing a run. I don't know how he does it. 14 straight saves. And Jason Bay with the 3 hits, and the Mets are 16-7 when Bay's been in that lineup. And Turner is in the middle of every single Met win, isn't he?
Justin Turner has been a revelation. The Mets with back-to-back shutouts for the first time since they shut out the Rockies and the Phillies on back-to-back days last August. First time they've had back-to-back shutouts against the same team since last May, when they shut out the Phillies 3 straight. There's your out of game summary. Dylan G went 5 2/3 before he allowed Livan Hernandez's hit that broke up his no-hit bid, but he was spectacular today to go to 3-0 on the season. Frankie Rodriguez, 14 straight saves, and a very frustrated Washington Nationals team now has not scored in 19 consecutive innings. Robbed of a call in that 9th inning this afternoon. But the Mets will take it, a 2-game sweep over the Nats to get within a game of 500 heading to the Bronx tomorrow. Back with more from Flushing in just a moment.